We are going to get this meeting started. Can I have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Shannon, can we get a roll call? I know it's not on the agenda. Unfortunately, the agenda software won't let us do it, but I figured we should get one. We should start doing that.
Mayor Vosberg,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Schindler,
Aye.
Councilman Ramirez, Councilman Louder,
Here.
Councilman Arroyo.
Here.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
We have one, Mayor. We have Kendall from DSK who's going to be doing just an update on the Measure J efforts. We're going to add that to awards, presentations, and appointments. It's just going to be an informational item, so we're going to add that as 2.2.
All right, perfect. Council's approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Agenda passes with the changes. Item number 2.1, Annual Natural Gas Enterprise Report 2026. Dan Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I was here in May talking about natural gas items, which was not the annual report, but this evening is the annual Natural Gas Enterprise Report that's required by resolution that was set up a number of years ago. I think this might be the fourth one, to provide for accountability on the operation of the gas enterprise, and especially because in the gas enterprise, there is that important ongoing requirement to purchase wholesale gas. So without going over the requirements of the policy, I'm just going to cover them as I go through this. So first is looking back, the gas purchase history, looking at volumes. Part of the policy defines 3-year average of past fiscal years. And what you can see now is that we're past that cold winter, past that in the average. And this past winter was a little bit warmer, especially in March, which I'll talk about a little bit more. One of the reasons, the main reason for the gas purchase policy is that very cold winter in 22-23 where gas prices spiked. And so the main aspect of the policy is to be buying gas ahead to avoid the price spikes in the wintertime. This is a look at last winter. And you can see that in February and March, we had a little bit too much of the fixed price gas. So a recommended change to the policy is for those shoulder months of November and March that can be warmer to use the 5-year low instead of a 3-year average. There's less volatility in those months anyway. And in fact, for the purchases that have been done for this winter, I use the 5-year low for March so we don't end up with that extra gas. And the problem with it is that when you have extra gas, it's because it's warm and the prices, the value of gas when it's warmer is much lower. So it ends up costing money to sell gas back because you bought higher and sold back lower. This is this coming winter, and it's not obvious, but the November and March numbers are a little bit lower in the fixed price part. Oh, I also wanted to point out, I'm going to touch on this. So for last winter, it was gas at $5.12 an MMBTU that we bought for the winter, and for this winter it's $4.27. Prices are coming down. And you can see I noted that this winter's hedge is at 77%, and again that's because instead of 80%, which is the requirement of the policy, because those shoulder months are, the volumes are a little bit lower. Here's another view of gas cost history. Going back to 24-25, we bought gas at $5.53. And this past winter, $5.12. And this next winter, $4.27. We bought that gas in June. For the next winter, the current offer is $484, which just isn't that attractive. And on your behalf, I watch the market closely for buying opportunities, but we're still in that trend where when you get there, it costs less money until it gets really cold or a pipeline blows up someplace, which is why we do the fixed price purchases ahead of time, because we're a city and we're not in the business of taking big risks. You've seen this one before. It's the trending of the PG&E transportation costs, those three components. On the bottom, it's the transmission capacity for gas that comes from the north. PG&E calls it the Redwood Path. The end user portion, and then that new component over the last 5 years, the cap and trade surcharge. But what we do see here, and we've heard in the news both for gas and electricity rates, is PG&E's rates softened a bit. So what was $4.74 last year is $4.21 this year. That helps a little bit. Here's revenue and expense and fund balance looking at 5 years. This hasn't moved that much since I was here last time. So for fiscal year 26, which is over, you can see that, if I can use the pointer, if I can hold it still. So we went backwards 258,000, but it was because of 357,000 spent on, mostly on the anode beds. Those are done now. The first 2 anode beds were finished in June. So for fiscal year 27, the year that we just started, the net gain is about 68,000, which is close to break even for the next 2 years. But that's spending $377,000 this fiscal year, and again, most of that is for 2 more anode beds. Now, with the first 2 anode beds replaced, the cathodic survey of the system is going to be done before the next 2. And if the cathodic testing results come back strong enough, basically representing that the steel system is protected, we can delay the next 2 anode beds, and 240 of that 377 can go to the fund balance. Because as long as the system is protected, we can run those anode beds right into the ground. A little bit of a pun there, but you can see, though, if the anode beds are replaced this year and then next year, we're just breaking even, keeping the that's the fund balance down here, keeping the fund balance close to 0. And that is helped by the 5% and then 5% increases that were done, if you remember, last year. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an okay picture. So here's the 26-27 projects. It's $240,000 for 2 more anode beds, gas meters, and then miscellaneous equipment. This is showing, as I've shown you before, the huge advantage to residential customers, single-family customers over PG&E. So 46% less looking at the last 12 months. I actually updated this. It's a big difference. But the thing I'm going to touch on this time is Coalinga's commercial rates are about the same as PG&E. And this has come to our attention because of one customer on the system that's been talking to the city about the commercial rate. So when a next increase is needed, my recommendation is going to be not to increase the commercial rates, but to increase the residential side. And that can be done by lowering the monthly therm level, which I'll show you in a minute. Right now it's at 50 therms in the wintertime, where we switch from the base tier price to the higher tier price. The other way, and potentially in combination with it, is to increase the residential baseline rate. So there's the allocation of how rate dollars come in. Most of the residential revenue is the baseline. Only about 9% of it is in that second tier above 50. And then you can see the commercial portion at 35% of the total. So there's opportunity to increase revenue in the baseline. Well, and what you're not seeing here is there's a lot of volume associated with residential baseline as well. Here's the rate table as it's approved in May. The modification was made to do baseline calculation by day. But what I wanted to point out is where the opportunity would be. So if this, next time this is updated, the 97 could be increased, but not the 144. The 97 for up to 50 for residential, and the 50 therm number could be lowered so that more of the residential therms were in the second tier. One of the requirements of the gas policy is, are we in compliance? And I've already touched on this. To modify it to specify that the shoulder months can be the 5-year low, and the other exception is the hedge technically is 77%, not 80, for this coming winter. It's very close. The baseline billing improvement that was improved, that you approved, City Council in May, is still in the progress. Staff's waiting for Tyler to respond on that. And I'm just saying this to point it out because it's in there now. Obviously, no transfer to rate stabilization or capital improvement because the funds simply aren't there. I'm also suggesting that a rate increase, though it would obviously help, but it can be deferred. There's the potential of the retroactive adjustment, which Mai's been working on for the government cost allocation study. That would bring about $170,000 to gas. And if the anode beds are deferred, that's another $240,000 to gas. And what I didn't put on there is if we have a cold winter, that'll help a lot. Because all of that incremental gas that's sold, all of that incremental revenue goes to is a fixed price contribution that's not included. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Dan. Questions from council?
You mentioned that our commercial rates right now are in line with PG&E. Are they higher, lower?
About the same. About the same.
About the same?
Yeah.
And you're recommending to keep them at that level and not lower them?
Well, I'm recommending not to increase them because the next thing the city will need to do is increase rates. There's not going to be I didn't talk about that, but because expenses are going up and because it's apparent that wholesale gas costs are sort of leveling out back to a new norm, there's no other opportunity for costs to be lower, except cold winter and defer the capital projects like I was saying.
Right, so you're recommending to keep them the same and don't?
Yeah, keeping commercial the same
And then
and
you're
making up
looking-
the difference.
You're looking at the usage over 50 therms or bumping that down? What do you suggest bringing that down to?
Well, I would do a combination of both. I would recommend lowering the 50 therms to 40 or 35, so there would be more sales. Because right now, as you saw, an average residential customer in the wintertime won't go over 50. They might go over in 1 month.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions.
Because I set the rates. When I set that 50, I tried to make it so that any reasonable home would be under the 50. And that's basically what's happened.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So to bring that down, maybe to 40, but most of the revenue would have to be made up in the baseline rate. Because right now, I didn't point it out when I was showing you that slide, but the baseline rate is 70%. I think the math was 71 or 69% of the total rate. So that spread, instead of being about 30%, might be 20%. I mean, I didn't do numbers yet, but.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
What's the incentive for excluding the commercial rate and not increasing and not creating a commercial tier system.
Well, that's a good point, because one opportunity, you have, for example, one customer on the system that is 4 times bigger than the next largest customer. That customer could be put in its own rate class and given its own rate that is more advantageous, because it is so much different than all the other customers. And that would solve one problem, but then the question would be, do you want to give other commercial customers on the system some benefit to Coalingus gas system like you give residential?
But the incentive to exclude commercial and carry the load onto the residents, which is our community, just trying to see what justifies that. Is there an incentive to help commercial?
You have to answer that question.
I think the incentive.
I mean,
is that
seriously,
they're not higher than PG&E, I mean, more or less.
Any other questions from council?
I guess, like, I don't have a question. I don't have a question, but I have a comment with, it's kind of the year that we're facing going into the winter months. We are looking that we're gonna have an average of warmer weather than normal. So is that something you take into account, given the fact that, you know, those conditions, the way they're shaping up, that's what's quote-unquote anticipated?
Well, in the modeling, especially since that cold winter's behind us, I'm using the 3-year average and assuming gas sales this winter will be the 3-year average. And the less gas we sell, the less revenue, and the more gas we sell, the more. But it's something that I can point at and say statistically reasonable.
Anyone else? So this is just informational tonight.
Yeah.
I do have a couple questions. The 170,000 in allocation, I do believe that that's something that we're going to move forward with. We've kind of already given direction on that. And then the 240 or so in the anodes, if we could save that. I know this isn't an action item, but my suggestion would be that we move that into the capital improvement funds and into the rate stabilization funds, if we're able to do such a thing. I think that'd be great. That way we could plant ourselves for what happens in the future. Let's see. I like the idea about a commercial tiered system. That sounds interesting. I also like the idea of, at least giving people a way that if they absolutely have to save and they can't afford to pay more, that at least if you lowered, the tier rate for the residential to 40, at least people would have some way to be able to save a little bit of money. I know that you're talking about, hey, the base rate, baseline is the most of the system. I guess when we get there, we'll have to kind of look at this more. But I do recognize that we do have at least one business in this town that really does, rely on our natural gas. And they employ quite a few people. And, we want to try and work with them to try and figure out how we can help them. Also, the rest of the commercial places as well, but this company specifically does use a tremendous amount. And so, I guess what I just want to say is thank you for your information. You've done a great job, and you're always moving with the system, which is what I really like, and that's awesome. And we appreciate it. If anyone else has any questions, if not, then thank you so much. Oh yeah, I guess we can go to the public. Sure.
Just two things. On behalf of businesses, my question is, I understand not wanting Scott.
You're okay.
All right. Take care of yourself. Residents pay one. We brag about our gas rates, how we purchase the gas ourselves, we're not PG&E with this and that. Residents get that cut. We're the most business-friendly city on the west side, but our businesses don't get that same cut. I know you can't go back and lower rates at this point, but I mean, I understand why you're saying that's
Good point. So I guess what we'll do is we'll have, when we get those tests done, we'll see, what we think, how long that they could be, because you're right, if it's only going to be a little deferment, then we may as well get them done, but heck, if it could run 10 years, I mean, then maybe that would give us time to catch up a little bit on our count. But did you want to comment?
Yeah, I wanted to respond better to the question about commercial customers. For a lot of commercial customers, the cost of natural gas that they see on their bill each month, they don't even notice. Residential customers in the wintertime notice, right? But there are some commercial customers, like the largest one, that notice in a big way because they use so much gas in their process. So I would be comfortable recommending carving that out, defining it as its own rate class, and giving it more attention. And that alleviates a lot of burden on the residential class from making it up for all the other commercial customers. So when we get there,
And that's why, like a commercial tier system can work both ways. It could work as a max usage. You use more, you start getting a better rate. Also, does that customer also, would a tier system affect them like it would a resident as far as, do they use consistently or do they have spikes throughout the year?
well, it's mostly wintertime drying. But that would be taken into consideration doing the rate design to make sure that it worked.
Yeah, I guess too, like, just a comment, is it like a timing deal too? Because if the biggest user of our gas is a different timing when the market's shifting here, does that influence anything of what rate?
No, because at this point, gas commodity prices have sort of leveled out at what may be normal going forward. The issue is the transportation component in Coalinga's rates, because I don't remember if I showed it, but the commodity cost for Coalinga, it was actually in the residential comparison. The commodity cost that the city pays for gas is about the same as PG&E. It's the same gas, but it's the transportation component that makes the big difference.
So I was going to ask, what is the difference? Why does PG&E have changing, why does their transportation costs change? Like I seen it up there, it kind of goes, it's really not the same across the board. Is there any idea to why that is?
I mean, there's so many components with
Okay, I was just curious. if you know.
capital pipeline replacement
Oh,
that
okay.
they're dealing with, the lawsuits that
Oh,
PG&E
okay.
is dealing with.
All right, so all that goes into it.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing that I'm curious about is, a lot of this cost is the cap and trade thing. So I wonder if there's anything that we could do with Sacramento to try and see if, I know this might be an interesting subject, but could they be willing to carve out something for the natural gas system itself?
Hasn't that reduced a little bit, Dan?
Yeah, PG&E adjusted the
Yeah.
surcharge downward.
It's gone down quite a bit.
But I wonder if because I guess what they're doing is they're paying what they're being told they have to pay, correct? Is that how this works?
Yeah, they're doing their own math about what their obligation is under the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Act.
All right. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks,
Okay.
Dan.
Thank you all. It's always good to be here.
Always good to have you. Thank you so much. All right. We are going to move on to item number 2.2, update from Kendall from DKS. Welcome, Kendall.
Thank you. I have to confess that, as I shared with the city manager, I've been adjusting to the heat this week. Because Monday morning, I woke up and I was wearing a sweatshirt and it was cold. And let's just say I've had a different experience this week in Coalinga, but it's been lovely in a very hot way. Before I get started in my presentation, which will be very brief, I really do want to shout out to staff, specifically to Mai and to the city manager and also to Jasenia, who've done a fantastic job helping me get information, and specifically Mai for building what I'll get into later, the backstory of where Measure J funds have gone the last 8 years. and she did a tremendous job of really diving in and getting us some solid information that we can then share with the public and also with other individuals that have an interest in it. And also I'd like to thank both of the chiefs for their help too. It's been really, really fun to be able to connect with them. So first of all, let me just say, as most of you know, Measure J is a 1 cent sales tax that was passed in 2018. It is due to sunset in 10 years, so we're actually having this conversation a little bit earlier, and one of the reasons for that, which I'll get into in a moment, has to do with the way that the city budgets moving forward. So as some of you may have been following some of the other measures here in Fresno County, if a measure sunsets before you have something else in place, it can make it very challenging for elected officials and for staff to be able to sort of balance investments or plan for investments over a period of time. So one of the things that's really interesting about this is that when it was originally passed in 2018, the estimate was about $850,000 a year that would be generated by that tax, but it's actually been closer to over 2 million, and in some years as much as 2.5 million. So we do expect to see that go up. And on an average, as of today, is about 26% of the city's annual operating budget across everything is from Measure J funding. Now, this is critically important to keep in mind because if that goes away, that means there has to be an adjustment to the annual budget of that same amount. One of the other things that we hear a lot is sort of, well, first of all, most of the people we've been talking to didn't know that Measure J existed, and if they did know, they didn't know where the money went. And again, that's one of the reasons, shout out to Mai. But specifically what it has done has allowed the city to hire more firefighters, to have battalion chiefs. It allowed PD to make room for 4 more positions. Some of the trucks you've seen from the fire department, including new engine and a newer one that's going to be arriving, I believe, in the next month or so, as well as a brush vehicle that actually has generated income for the city. The Emergency Operations Center, some folks learned that, the splash pad that's going in on 5th, that's also Measure J funds, as well as the upcoming food court that'll be in downtown. It's not just that. There are a number of things, and so we're going to be sharing that over the next couple of months so people know where this money went. And one of the things that's really important to be clear about, our role at DKS is not to tell you to vote for or vote against this measure. The only thing we're here to do is to tell you what's in it and what it does. And then the citizens of Coalinga will decide on their own what they want to do with that information moving forward. As I mentioned, many cities will in fact take a look at their measures and bring them to the ballot a little bit sooner. I think some folks know that this was on the 2024 ballot and was not passed successfully. One of the things we want to make clear about is that, if this is passed in November, it would extend out until 2039. And so that gives us another bit of runway. But there are some things that we've learned in talking with members of the public and community-based organizations that we could have been doing better in those last 8 years. And not to say that it was anything intentional, but just things that could be done better. And so beginning, if this passes, there's new things in the ordinance, which you can actually read, it'll be posted on the city's website. First of all, an annual citizens advisory committee. Now, it's still going to be the role of the city council to determine how these funds are spent. But the ordinance requires that every year, in a budget year, that they must convene a group of citizens that can actually make suggestions about how they'd like to see that money spent. And as an example, we were at National Night Out, which was a great event. Great job, Jasenia. Anyway, that evening, we heard everything from parks to, boy, we'd like to see more of this, more of that. We'd like to see better signage. There's all kinds of things that people might want to see. Also having quarterly revenue reports, which means we talk about here at City Council, pulling that information out. This is what we got in the last quarter. This is where we spent money in the last quarter. So that's always in the forefront of what people are hearing about the measure, so they know, again, where that money went. And then, of course, also doing an annual expenditure report, which would come from the city's finance office, and really taking a look at how those funds were allocated over that year and where the money went. And I can tell you, having done this for about 30 years now, overwhelmingly, that is the #1 thing people care about when you're talking about tax dollars. It's like, that's great. If you're using it the way I want you to use it, that's great. But I just want to know what you did with it. And if it's unclear or it's not easy to find information, people are very reluctant to be supportive of that. And that's one of the reasons that our firm is working very closely with the finance department, city manager, and all the other folks to say, hey, let's make sure we get that right. So some of you may have seen these already. We're making them available both online and at various events throughout the next several months. But we have a fact sheet talking about Measure J. Again, this is not a new tax. It would be an extension of an existing tax with the changes that I just mentioned on the ordinance itself. But it just talks about the basic things about how it's used, who pays for it, all that kind of good stuff. To be clear, the money remains here in Coalinga. It cannot be taken by Sacramento or the county for that matter. It stays right here within our community, and it is kind of the purview of the city council to determine how they want to spend that. We also know that we have a very diverse community, so that's one of the reasons that we're doing all of these materials and everything bilingual, and we have bilingual staff that had a great time talking to everybody at National Night Out, and we're doing other opportunities to talk with folks. So just as an example, at National Night Out, we gave away, and thank you again for the city, 75 books. We had over 250 people come up through and ask questions and ask things about the measure. Ironically, overwhelmingly positive response. We're kind of used to people saying, you know, boo, boo, but we really didn't get a lot of that. We really got mainly, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what they did with the money. And so again, these are all things that we can really do better at. So over the next month, we're going to be doing town hall meetings. We're coordinating with the library to try to do an event sometime, probably the first week of September. We've already got a date set for the Coalinga Women's Club. We've reached out to the mental hospital. We're going to be talking with their folks coming up soon. We're working with the chamber, trying to figure out a good time that works to talking with their members. And we're talking with a number of other community-based organizations that have all different roles within the community, as well as faith-based organizations. And then I'm not going to steal the thunder, but I said there will be a candidate forum, I believe, in October, and we'll be attending that as well. Again, just to answer questions that people might have. Did want to point out that next council meeting on August 20th, the City Council will be having a study session about Measure J, and it's a great opportunity and really starts to set the stage for having the public come to the meeting and let folks know what they might be thinking about, what would be interesting. There won't be any action taken in terms of what the money is going to be for the next year, but call it a preemptive discussion before your budget cycle when you start talking again in January or February. But it demonstrates the commitment by the council and by staff to make sure that as we move forward that this becomes a more inclusive process where people can really come and share their ideas, and the council as well can share theirs, because there's different and changing priorities as things go by. You know, as an example, we won't know what's going to happen with Measure C, which is apparently now back on the ballot, but it's 6:30 tonight, who knows at this point, but we won't know. And so things change, and that really allows the city and the council to be more proactive on that. So all of the information related to Measure J is already on the city's website. And again, thanks to Jasenia for that. And it's coalinga.com/548 Measure J. But you can also just click on the government button. It's the first thing that comes up as Measure J. Really easy to get into. And there is bilingual information on there as well. So our role, again, over the next several months is really to get to as many people as we can from an educational standpoint, tell them what's in this measure, what the measure has already done for the community, and then talk about what would happen potentially if the measure goes away. So that really concludes the presentation. Again, thank you so much for squeezing me in tonight. I'm very excited about the potential for the second half of the football game, which starts tonight. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer those.
Council, any questions? No. I just want to say I appreciate all the information that you're putting out there. I will say at the city, we've struggled for the last, since we've, about 15 years ago, in debt, and trying to claw our way out, not having informational people to put out information. One of the things, as you mentioned, is people want to know where the money was spent, right? They want to know, like, where is this? And then they know where we won't have it. And so you've mapped that out, and I'm sure that there's more to come, and I very much appreciate all the work that staff is putting in for this, and that you are putting in, and I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
No questions?
Nope.
Okay, football.
All right, we're going to move on to citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the council on any item within the jurisdiction of the council. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern, identify themselves, and use the microphone. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the city council this evening, and all items will be referred to staff for a follow-up and a report. Citizen comments submitted in writing to the city clerk by 5 p.m. on the day of the city council meeting shall be distributed to the city council and included in the record. However, they will not be read. And first, I would just like to look at the Zoom and see if there's anybody on Zoom that has a comment. Seeing none, we are going to now allow Dr. Amir O'Brien a couple minutes she's running for, I believe it's school board superintendent, correct?
Hi, I am. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Vosberg, members of the Coalinga City Council, members of the City Administration. Thank you. My name is Emer O'Brien, and yes, indeed, I'm running for Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. You might recognize my name. I was a district superintendent, one of the 31 district superintendents in our county. I was with Clovis Unified for 26 years, served as superintendent for 6 of those years. I was finished up as superintendent, but prior to that, I was principal of Clovis West High School, principal of an elementary school. I had a lot of jobs along the way. And last year, I actually served as interim superintendent in Central Unified School District. So I've actually served as district superintendent of 2 of our largest districts in the county. Tweet version of who I am: I was born and raised in Ireland, and I spent 10 years teaching over there, teaching young kids the rudiments of reading and writing and math. And I've lived here now in Fresno County for 33 years. I taught for an additional 10 years here. Did I touch something? Does that go off? Here we are, it's back on. So after 20 years in the classroom, which I really enjoyed, I ended up going into administration, and I served an additional 20 years in administration. So I've had 40 years of experience in education. You know, as I started out on this journey of running for Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, I asked myself, if I could solve one problem in Fresno County's educational realm, what would have the biggest impact? And there is no doubt in my mind that the fact that we have had for at least 2 decades, but I'll just use the last decade because the last decade is all we've had with the current state test, we've had over half of our students not reading on grade level throughout the entire K-12 system. And we've had, you know, close 60% not reading on grade level by the time they finish 3rd grade. So it means they're going into 4th grade at a great disadvantage for the rest of their educational experience. And it's setting them up to not be able to access a lot of the great things we have, like dual enrollment, as we were talking about, and CTE, and all the other great things that we have. And it's really doing our kids a great disservice. The math scores are actually even more concerning. We've more like about close to 70% of our students not performing on grade level in math over the years. The frustrating part of all of this is that we know exactly what to do to fix this. And now we actually, with the passing of a new law with bipartisan support last year, it's called the Golden State Literacy Plan, there's an unprecedented amount of money being invested in early literacy in California. I'll be really frank, I want to get in and fix this problem. I've talked with every one of the district superintendents, and I believe that we can do this, and we can do it in a very short period of time. And it'll make a huge difference for our kids as they matriculate through the educational system. So I want to give everybody a little bit of homework. I'd love if you could check out my flyer. I'll give it to your clerk. Thank you again for your time. And I want to say, I've been out in Coalinga several times, talking to various people, the district superintendent, Scott, and members of the school board, and I just want to say I've always had a great welcome, so thank you so much. I really enjoy coming out here.
Thank you so much. Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening, I'm Hilda Crawford, and I have just one question. It's not on the agenda, but I was just curious. I live over on Nevada Street, which is just 2 blocks or 2 streets down from the school district, or the schools. I was just wondering, school starting what, next Thursday? And I was just gonna ask the chief if there was any thought of having any kind of traffic control. When first day of school and then that week, it's hell for me to try to get from Nevada, from my house to work. And I don't want to tell you I'm speeding, but I'm on 2 wheels coming around the corner to get to work on time. So I was just going to ask if there's anything that you guys have thought of about having traffic control. You know, if you have the cop with the whistle and come on, let's go, stop here. So it makes it a lot easier.
Please.
Yes, on the first day of school, if calls for service allow, we're going to have at least one officer assist the crossing guards at Van Ness and Sunset, because that's where the worst area is for the traffic to, so they've been having problems there. But the school district, as you know, do have a crossing guard program, you know, where the district is responsible for the Van Ness and Sunset, and then the other school sites are responsible for like the crosswalks on California. So each site have their own staff working those areas, and the junior high likewise, they have their own staff working it too. But so we're working with the school, and I put some recommendation as how we could assist them specifically at Van Ness and Sunset.
Yeah, because that's your biggest, really, problem is right there. So I have to go 4 or 5 blocks back one way and then come 4 blocks to turn on Sunset, and then maybe if I can, just cut by the church. So it makes it hard for us citizens.
I'm Jesse Barone. I'm the Public Works Director, Assistant City Manager. We agree. So we are in contract with a traffic engineer to do we're calling it Smart Sunset, and we're going to try to alleviate some of those traffic concerns. We're doing some improvements on California and Baker that, while it won't improve in the short term, it's going to kind of clog things up a little bit, but it'll be better for the long term. But we do recognize that that's an issue, and we are working with your Measure J funds, so.
Well, thank you. And first day of school, I'm gonna give you guys what I think, okay? See how it went and how it worked. Yeah.
I got a comment, so maybe we can put something educational on the social media platform about the first day of school and school starting up and stuff like that, something that everybody's aware and kind of pinch points and everything, so the public can kind of navigate that and not be on 2 wheels.
Yeah, we plan to coordinate earlier next week because we are still talking with Caltrans, trying to figure out the light sequencing for Elm Street. As we know, it's partially striped, not quite fully striped, but we have been talking about alleviating the blinking and trying to bring the signals back. However, they don't have the loops yet, so they're going to be on timers, and we know how the timers, so it's kind of the lesser of 2 evils. But we're going to be continuing to work through them, knowing that the first day of school, I think, is Thursday, so we're going to be working on trying to coordinate those efforts and collectively try to make it as least chaotic as possible for Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I see those blinkers. I mean, at some point, I think when they go back to normal, somebody's gonna.
It's gonna, yeah, there'll be a learning curve for sure once it goes back to normal.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking that into consideration and really working not only with the community, but with the parents and the crazy drivers and the people that just pull over and let their kids cross and block the ways, so it's kind of hard to get to work. And I'm glad for Wednesdays. It's a late day and I can make it with no problem.
Yeah, you know, I think that, thank you for speaking on behalf of everybody, because I think that's a lot of parents and a lot of people struggle too, so appreciate
Yes.
that.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hilda.
Thanks, Hilda. Anybody else want to speak? Anyone on Zoom? Robert? Nope. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to public hearings, where we have none. Consent calendar, we have, looks like 14 items. Is there anything council would like to get more information on?
I'd like to pull 5.8 just for information.
Anyone else? All right, so I would like to just understand a little bit more on 5.6 and 5.11. And then I was going to ask City Treasurer if she wanted any information on 5.4. Yep, so we'll also get that out there as well. So we'll do 5.4 first. I think that would probably be Mai. Can you just give us like a brief summary?
Hold on, let me pull it up.
And then after my talks, I'd also like to give the treasurer time to speak as well if she has something about this.
Okay. So for 5.4, it's annually we update the investment policy so that we can be in compliant with California codes and also with the city's policy in regards to the investment. This one is to, so last year we did put some the investment policy in place. This is just to upgrade last year's, just to update last year's policy. And it was to include the LAIF policy language cleanup for best practices. It was also to allow for commercial statutory updates under Government Code 53601H, which is to authorize maturity for commercial paper investments from 270 days to 397 days. And then another one is, Module 3 is placement of service deposits under Government Code 53601.8. This one is to authorize the city to invest up to 50% of the city's investment portfolio through qualifying placement service deposit until January 1st, 2031. And any additional authorized investments in relations to Government Code Section 53601A. So what OIP usually do is, as the policies and the codes are modified, they make sure that we are in compliant with it.
Is there a benefit to moving it to 390 days? I think, is that what the number you said?
The benefit.
And then also, what is the ramifications of investing 50% of the city's investment portfolio through qualifying placement service deposits until January 2031? Does that mean they're locked in till that time?
Yes.
What's the?
So there are specific codes and rules in place that are set to where we can't invest over a certain period of time. And if we do, then it does violate certain codes. And when it becomes available to us, we take advantage of it because the longer the investment, the higher the return.
Okay. Any other questions for Mai before we turn it over to the city treasurer? No? Thank you so much, Mai. Ms. Kaikina?
So the most important thing I think I have to ask as treasurer is the preservation of principles and adequate liquidity as far as this is concerned. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Preservation of principle and adequacy of liquidity. I took a bunch of notes, and I'm trying to find them in my phone, I'm so sorry.
Mai, would you like me to take that question?
Yes, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Robert Miklik. We work for the city. We manage the investment portfolio. So to just go back a second, the question around the placement service deposits, the city currently doesn't utilize that investment option. All that's really going on here is the way the code was written. This allowable investment type was supposed to revert on January 2026 to only allow 30% of the portfolio. The government code pushed out that expiration date to January 1st, 2031. So it's really no impact to the city. You're not currently utilizing this investment type in your portfolio. It's just to bring the investment policy up to current code requirements. So no change, no impact. You don't have to worry about 50% of the city's money being utilized in that category because it's not being utilized today. And then the question around the commercial paper, the city doesn't currently utilize commercial paper. That would be an advantage if we chose to use it at some point in time, or if the city chose to use it at some point in time. It's just, again, to keep the investment policy in alignment with current government regulations. So no change, no impact. These are all just to get your policy up to date. And then the question, I apologize, I think it was from the treasurer who had asked about liquidity and making sure the city has plenty of funds on hand. We always take the approach to protect principal first. That is absolutely the most important thing. Then liquidity, then yield. And that is built into the investment program. And that is how it's been designed since the day we partnered with the city. Sorry, Mai, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to help you if you needed it.
Thank you, I appreciated that.
No, we appreciate you being online for us to answer questions. That's great. Do we have any more questions from the city treasurer? Nope. Thank you so much. This was just for information. So the next item, unless council has any more questions on this one?
Yeah, just sure it's compliant legal risk, right?
Yeah.
Policies, just to make sure we're in ordinance.
That's, yep. Okay. Gonna go to 5.6, authorization to purchase new firearms for police department using COPS grant funds. So I just had a few questions about this one. I think in the past, we've used COPS grants for all kinds of different things. We've used it for cars, we've used it for, I think we've even used it for an officer in the past. This time, we're gonna use it for firearms. Can you just explain a little bit about that?
Well, under the COPS grant, purchasing firearms is allowable, and we are seeking approval from council to purchase new firearms. The AR-15 rifles, our rifles right now are really old. We've been slowly, for the last couple of years, switching them to a different model, but they're majority of them are 10 years plus, and some are 25 years. We're also seeking permission to purchase 10 suppressors to protect the officer's ears. As to the handgun, the ones that we currently use is, we currently use the the P320s, SIG, and they're good weapons. However, other agencies that experience some negligent discharge those firearms, and because of that, training sites are refusing. They banned that weapon. So we would like to have at least 10 of these SIG GT5s for several reasons. The magazines are exchangeable. It's an addition to the ones we're carrying right now, the weapon, and we can provide officers to go to training utilizing that new weapon. I did create a entry tactical team to serve warrants, And so I'd be able to send them to specialized weapon and tactics trainings by utilizing the new handgun.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the suppressors? Have we used suppressors before?
I'll turn that over to Commander.
Have 4 out right now. So it's a slow changeover to, like Chief said, protect the officers' hearing, protect the community's hearing in case something happens. We did have one incident where one of our rifles was fired, as everybody knows. It did have a suppressor on it, which I think helped in the long run because of where it happened at. So the noise itself wasn't an issue as far as one of the complaints.
And, okay, so we've been using the suppressors then?
Some, yes.
Some, and so we're just looking at moving toward that standardized practice for hearing protection and things of that nature. If you're installing the suppressors, will this require some kind of special ammo to go with it as well?
No.
No?
There is we can buy like subsonic ammo for it, but it's not required.
It's not required. Okay. Anyone else on council have any questions about this one?
I didn't really. I was originally concerned about introducing the suppressors, but since you guys have already been using them, then it's not anything new to the public. Because, you know, there's black bad gun things going around. So, but I'm not against it or anything. I'm
So
just saying.
the rifle platform we're looking for, it's the same AR-15 platform we're going with right now, but a shorter version. So with the suppressor, it'll look pretty close to the same things what we're carrying now, just a little bit thicker on the end, that's all.
All right.
I think that Bushmaster's out of business, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes. And that's what the majority of our rifles are.
Yeah.
And so we are going to surplus these out, right? I looked at in the staff report, they're going to be sold?
The AR-15s, yes.
The Bushmaster versions that you guys have now?
We're gonna start with the Colts, because those are the ones that are 25+ years old.
Okay.
And then 3 Bushmasters, and hopefully next fiscal year, depending on where we're at, we'll finish the changeover.
Okay. Any further questions from council? No? Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah. 5.8, adopt resolution 4346, revising building official job description. Roger?
So I'm just wondering, I just wanted to get a quick rundown on what you're thinking here, what your goal is, your end goal is by changing all of this around.
I'll defer to
Yeah,
Jesse.
okay, yeah, thank you.
He worked a lot on the revision of the job description. Again, this was a job description we did have in place prior. We're just revising it, really try to work within the confines of our department. So I'll let Jesse kind of talk about that a little bit, what the intent is.
Mayor Pro Tem, so the purpose of, the reason you're seeing this is because all job description revisions have to come back to council. So I came up in this industry as a building inspector and a plans examiner, and in that career, I also worked as a capital project, in capital projects at Cal Poly, and I just saw that there's room to do both. You can have a building inspector be also a construction inspector, and they're really interchangeable job skills. And so just utilizing our current employees to the best of their ability and concentrating on their skill sets and their talents. So really that was what drove this standard change.
So this is an administrative level position, right?
Yeah, it'll go through it. I'm sorry.
Were you planning on using it to oversee code enforcement and
Yeah,
the
so
like?
there'll be some supervisory capacity in this position as well, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And really the big change is that the building inspector will also be the inspector of record for capital projects. So not necessarily the project manager will still remain with Public Works, but the inspector of record will also be the individual that's in the chief building official position.
All right, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Does the pay class change?
It does change. It's a little bit of a promotion.
Any other questions from council? Okay. Moving on to 5.11, adopt City of Coalinga surplus personal property policy.
Did you have a specific question about that, Mayor?
So, I just, I guess I just have a comment. I like that we have a check and a balance and transparency as it sits. I think most government agencies that I have some kind of involvement with have a surplus policy, so I'm glad that this is coming up and that you're going to have some guardrails and some specifications. One thing that I really like about surplus policies is usually there's like an approving agency, and I like the fact that the city council is that place so that we can understand what's going in and what's going out. I would just like to see in this policy that before it gets surplus, that the council is notified what's being surplused, so that if for some reason that there's a question of what we're going to use the items for or where's it going to go. And I know that a lot of this is put into your policy, but I just think it adds as a transparency check and a balance also for the public for that nature as well. So I look at, like, you know, anything like over a couple $100, I think that the council should approve. I know in the past we've had some items that were a couple $1,000s and that there was questions on how those items got out to the public. And so I'd like to keep it within that kind of range. That's just my opinion, but I'll open it up for council as well.
So that's, what you're proposing here is to take that away from the council, and that's just determined
Well,
within the apartment.
what's interesting is that the city's never really had a full surplus policy. We looked and tried to get something updated. So when we started from scratch, I did a lot of research in terms of what's typical in a lot of other jurisdictions. And so trying to eliminate as much, you know, as an administrative process, and there is recording and reporting that we have to do on all the items that are surplus. We saw that the average value of products typically don't come before a governing body until, you know, between $10,000 to $25,000, if not higher. Some cities are as high as $50,000. And so we kind of went with 25,000, but this is the purpose of having that discussion. If it's something the council wants to lower and say, hey, anything over 5,000, 1,000, it's just it allows us to surplus property quicker, because there still is a process, an administrative process of how we record everything and report on it once the transactions are complete, whether it goes to a nonprofit or whether it goes through gov deals for, like, say, like a piece of equipment. And it also has information here where if it's specific, like sensitive equipment, it would definitely come back to the council. So I'm open to what the council would like. I mean, if you guys want to lower that number to something different, that's fine. We're just trying to reduce the burden on bringing things, but if it's something the council wants to see, then we can lower that threshold.
I'm not sure if I'm interested in lowering the number, more so being transparent to the public.
I mean, if you'd like, we could do.
So like the check he's talking about, to me, means that it's all put together in a package, and the last step is just putting it in an agenda where everybody could see it, say yes or no. And I've heard horror stories about past things going on, and I don't want.
Yeah, and there was no, I guess, procedures or policies in place for that. So I think it was just a matter of how do you auction things and how do you do this? And I think it was kind of administratively, this kind of spells out and provides more guidance. If the council wants to see every surplus item that comes out, that we can do that as well. It's just compiling all that information and bringing it before the council.
Well, how would this be transparent to the public?
All documentation
on the website, or is it?
That, however the council wants. We could do quarterly reports on all items that are surplus and how they were surplus and provide that, because it's still required in the policy to be able to it's in the policy where we are responsible for making sure we maintain the records. Finance has to maintain those records of any kind of revenue that comes in from it. So we could develop a quarterly report if the council so chooses on our activities. If you feel that that's not appropriate after a couple quarters and say, hey, we want to be more involved, it's a policy we can come back and the council could adjust. So we could implement this, we could come back and I can include language in here that a quarterly report comes back to the council and make that promise to you guys and see if that's enough information for you, to bring back to the public. We can do that. 'Cause I say quarterly because I don't know how much information has to be prepared before we bring that to you. Or we can just lower the threshold, or we just bring and declare things surplus to you guys and do it kind of similar to what we've done in the past. So kind of leave it up to you guys and kind of what
I'm
you
really
want to
more
do.
about transparency, so I mean, if we can get a report, then I don't really care to deal with it, you know, but if we can't, then
I like the idea of having us just approve it, because then we know where this stuff is going. I mean, I don't want to, for the public, I think the public deserves to have it at least approved before it gets surplused out. I know library does it, I think the school district does that type of thing as well. So I'd like to see it, a report, and just that way we approve it. Not, nothing with this agency specific, but we've had in the past, grand jury things happen where people were not surplusing items correctly. And then all of a sudden, what was the fix from the grand jury? It was transparency. And so I don't want to go into a mode to where we have to go backwards and get a fix. We may as well just be transparent up front.
that's where I'm at.
And just, that way we just get that list. I'm not saying that we don't go along with what your policy is. I just want to make sure that we're, in the loop of what's going out. That way when the public asks, like, where did this stuff go, that we'll know. Because, that's kind of how it came to attention beforehand, was certain members of the public knew things went out from different agencies, and people are like, wow, how'd that happen? And then it became an issue, and so, I don't know. I just like the check and balance of it.
So what we could do is, if that's what the council desires, and I kind of see heads nodding, so we could remove essentially the threshold. We could bring it back. We can still move forward with the policy, just knowing that the threshold would be 0. The only thing that
I guess 0 would be a different type of residual than I would want. I'd say 25 grand is a little bit far from stretch. I think more down that residual would probably be best. Internal transfers, I think that really important to highlight that we're utilizing some of these quote-unquote worn out, obsolete things. And then public know, like, hey, this was worn out here, but it was used over here, whatever. I guess the residual, 25 grand or more, that's a lot of money. And as a business owner, I think that's 5 or 10 grand.
I think we're talking about lowering that to 0 for the time.
Yeah, so basically
Getting the
anything
policy in
surplus
place.
would go back. I think the
Yeah.
only thing that I would recommend is giving us the ability to dispose of like trash.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
the,
no,
the
I-
problem is that we have a lot of junk
Yeah.
in City Hall right now.
Right.
That we just want to dispose of, that has no material value that we've determined, like half desks and just things that aren't functional for anyone. We want to be able to dispose of those things, and I think with not having a policy, we're very hesitant to throw anything away, unfortunately. So I want to make sure we can keep that in the policy, but I have no problem with anything that we feel like we want to send out to offer to nonprofits and put out on gov deals like vehicles and equipment. We can bring that back. We can bring that back to council for authorization, as we have in the past.
Yeah,
No,
I think
the
if it's,
policy does give us the flexibility.
I think if it's trash, then it's trash. If it's not any good, then I get that. But and nothing around this current administration or the people that are working here now, but just the ideas that could happen. Someone could say, hey, all these firearms are surplus. And then all of a sudden, someone's purchasing them. Cars could be surplus, and then somebody's purchasing them. These types of things can happen if there's not a set of eyes on that. And so that's just, I just want to make sure that we have that set of eyes on there. And I'm not looking at things that are unusable, like, hey, we got a surplus old carpet, or mats and things like that.
Do we really want to go to 0 then?
That's what I was just getting ready to say.
Right. Is there a
maybe
workaround?
there
Can we
is a
do
better
something?
number.
How do we?
Because what's trash and what's not trash?
It's not, it's just things that are not usable, right? Obviously, trash to somebody might be gold to somebody else. It's the eye of the beholder, but
I just don't want to get stacked up with unnecessary things.
yeah.
Like
Right.
calculator.
Yeah, no, we're not, things that are, and that's why, kind of setting somewhat of a dollar amount was kind of the idea that I had, like $200.
So we have de
something like
minimis,
that.
well, I guess the policy says it calls de minimis value. It's less than $499. So, or $499, under $500. So if it's under $500 value, that would be fine. And it would basically, we can get rid of it. Or.
Mario?
No, that's what I was gonna mention. I don't think you wanna take it totally down to zero, but that's the reason for the de minimis, right? Like, staff has to, somebody has to make a determination of what they think the value is. You've hired the city manager, he gets to do that. That's who should make the call, right? And then if it's under the 500, he can get rid of it.
Yeah. And then basically no value is defined, and we define no value. So no value is personal property that's broken, obsolete, worn out, damaged, or expired, unusable supplies. So that would give us the ability to dispose of those types.
But there's still an account of what it was, where it went, the whole deal, right?
Yeah, we'd still be documenting what we do. There's still a documentation and procedures of how we handle that stuff.
So basically, anything under 500, they can get rid of, just documenting that. Anything over 500, we'd be notified with a list.
You'd have to declare it surplus at that point. You guys
Yes.
are required to
You guys okay
declare
with
it
that?
surplus.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, and if things don't work, I'll come back and we'll rework it.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. All right. Anything else you want to talk about on the consent calendar, or we entertain a motion to?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second to approve it as is.
Are we approving
Oh,
it
with
with
the-
the direction on the surplus?
Yeah, with direction on the surplus, 511.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent calendar changes, passes with the direction of 5.11. All right, going to move on to item number 6.1, ordinance presentation, discussion, and potential action items. Discussion, direction, and potential action regarding updating the current mural policy.
Mayor, we have Jenna Chilangarian from Precision Engineering here to present to you the mural policy for your direction.
Thanks, Jesse. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jenna Chilangarian. I am your contract planner from Precision Civil Engineering, and I'm here to facilitate a discussion on your current mural guidelines and procedures following your discussion that you had at the prior council meeting. So the purpose of this discussion is we'll review the current mural guidelines and procedure. We'll discuss some gaps in policy issues based on staff's review. We'll discuss options for a clearer policy framework, and then we'll hear from you on direction for whether a revised draft should be considered at a future meeting. Okay, so I have 3 sections. I'll go over background, I'll go into policy considerations, and then I'll hear from you on direction. So for the existing mural framework, we have a couple of documents that help guide this for the city. So the first being the downtown design guidelines. There is a section in those guidelines that were adopted in 2007 that encourage murals and public art in the downtown areas. It talks about reinforcing the history, image, and community identity. It seeks to ensure compatibility with downtown architecture and existing public art. It requires permit review and prohibits use as advertising or signage, and it emphasizes durable materials, quality design, and professional execution. And then in addition to that, we have the mural guidelines and procedures, which were adopted in 2016. And this document provides formal processes for mural applications and approval, and encourages public art that preserves culture and reflects community history in general. So in the last council meeting, I was not here, but I did listen to the recording to make sure I adequately captured your issues raised. So these are the 7 issues that I heard you discuss. So the first is whether murals should include advertising. Talked about maintenance responsibility, graffiti and vandalism response, fading, peeling, and aging murals, artistic rights and removal, whether city council should remain the approval body, and whether the city should encourage community-oriented themes. So I wanted to first talk a little bit about the term guidelines versus policy. So in staff's review of the current documents, it seems that these documents function mostly as guidelines and procedures, and the concerns raised are policy level issues. So next step could be to strengthen the guidelines into a clear policy framework, and have application requirements updated to reflect that new framework. So this is what it could look like. So on the left, we have a policy framework. This would establish rules and standards. It'll answer questions like what's allowed, required, or prohibited. It'll address substantive issues such as content, maintenance, vandalism, lifespan, and removal. It'll provide the framework for decision-making. And overall, this type of document should be updated first, and then the procedure part of that document can follow. So on the procedure side, it would get into things like implementation. Oh, I did not update the second column, but think of that as the procedure to implement the policy. Sorry. Okay, so in terms of the crosswalk of current guidelines, I know this is hard to see. It is in the staff report. So on the left column are the issues that were raised. The middle column is what we're seeing in the current guidelines, and then the right column is gaps and ambiguities that staff perceives. So in terms of commercial content, murals in the guidelines are not intended as advertising, but there is a 1% of ad space allowed. So a gap or ambiguity could be that the policy is clear on logos, branding, and painted ad space, or just prohibits ad space in general. In terms of maintenance, there are maintenance and related issues addressed through what's required from the guidelines, which is a mural agreement, so that's where it would be addressed. So the gap here is that long-term maintenance is not clearly assigned or required at a policy level. For vandalism, maintenance and related issues are addressed again through that required mural agreement, but a response to vandalism is not clearly assigned or required at the policy level. You'll see the same here for lifespan or removal, so it's implied through the mural agreement, but there's no detailed standard for faded, peeling, or obsolete murals at the policy level. Artistic rights are not addressed at all, so there's no explicit CAPA or VERA acknowledgement language. And then for review authority, the current process goes through Planning Commission and City Council, and maybe Council doesn't want to act on every mural. And then lastly, in terms of themes, there is some implied community serving subject matter through the purpose of the guidelines, but it's encouragement only and does not clearly state whether the city intends to require specific themes or give thematic guidance. So that's what staff is seeing as we read through the guidelines. So the next section, to help you in your considerations for the policy, we reviewed a few different jurisdictions and their mural guidelines, so that's detailed in attachment A of the staff report. And so this will be a summary of some policy considerations, and then we'll conclude with some direction from council. So from other jurisdictions within these 7 issue areas, on the left column, the middle column is what we're seeing in other jurisdictions, and then the right column is some possible direction for the city. So in terms of commercial content, other jurisdictions say if you have any commercial content, it's a sign. So being explicit there and prohibiting ad space is a possible direction. In terms of maintenance, it's clear in other jurisdictions that the owner and the sponsor are responsible for maintenance. So in terms of the city here, it could be to assign upkeep to owner explicitly as a requirement. In terms of vandalism, there's sometimes I've seen cure periods and abatement authority. And so here in this situation, we could potentially add a 48 to 72 hour response rule if there is vandalism or graffiti. For lifespan and removal, we're seeing agreements and removal standards from other policies. So in this case, require some sort of lifespan or removal plan. For artistic rights, there are required written acknowledgements and forms and things like that that other agencies have. So that could be a potential direction here. For review authority, a lot of the time it's staff or some sort of special art commission that is reviewing with a potential to appeal to Planning Commission or City Council. So there could be administrative review and appeals process here. And then lastly, other jurisdictions do encourage local history and identity, but they're not giving mandates on viewpoints. So there could be some non-binding theme guidance in the policy here. So then I'm just going to walk through high level again some of the direction that staff is providing here tonight for your consideration. You'll see a lot of coulds and mays because I wanted to keep these open to conversation. So for commercial content, murals could be strictly defined as non-commercial public art. Any sort of logos, branding, business promotion, ad space could be prohibited. Any advertising content could instead be reviewed under the city's sign regulations, and this approach keeps murals focused on art rather than advertising. In terms of maintenance, you could place explicit responsibility for maintenance to the property owner or project sponsor. You could require approved murals to be kept in good condition and free of graffiti. You can state that long-term upkeep, repair, and restoration should not be the city's responsibility. You can require private agreements to assign additional duties with the artist, the owner, or the sponsor.
Hey, Jenna, real
Yes.
quick,
Mhm.
do you think it might be best to maybe get comment from council for each, as we go through each one? Because these are kind of like recommended, this is kind of
I'm
recommended
giving
language,
some
right?
options, yeah.
To see if there's feedback and see if they, I mean, if
Okay.
they agree with all four
Sure,
bullets,
yes.
then we know that we can incorporate that into the policy or not. And if you guys have anything to add, we can do that now. I'm assuming that's kind of what we'd be looking for, right? Okay.
All right, so let's start with the first one then. Council?
I'm liking what I'm looking at right now. I don't want the ad space. That reads just like what I would like to see.
Is everyone okay with the first bullet point? Anything anyone would like to add?
Just a clarity question, since I'll be the one probably approving these, is, are we gonna, specifically, I guess that, I can't say this without specificity, the palm tree, are we gonna consider that part of the, commercial content?
Isn't that their, their
Yeah.
logo?
Okay,
Then
so,
you'd have to define what an ad is then, I guess, before we even said no ad. And I think we have that, don't we? We have signage.
Yeah, we can probably defer to some of
Definitions.
the definitions in our sign code as well, I think, so.
so just
Yeah.
keeping the logos of the business out of the art.
Yeah, because it
That's
talks
what I
in here,
learned.
logos, branding, business promotion, and ad space could be prohibited. So, I mean, it's pretty, in there, I think these bullet points are kind of comprehensive to kind of give guidance to the council. If these are things you want to see, then we'll craft language in the formal policy to address these specific things too.
I guess just from an enforcement perspective, could we have it say shall be instead of could be? Because could be is very ambiguous and,
Yes, so the way that I drafted this PowerPoint, these slides are all coulds and mays, because I don't want to tell the city council what they shall do. So
Shall be? Okay.
it's not my point, or that's not my position, so, yeah. But yes, a policy should say shalls and musts and all those enforcing things.
All right, so we're all good with the bullet point number one? So moving,
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
And then, are we going to go section by section or bullet point by bullet point? What do you guys
I
want to
think-
do? Okay, so logos, branding, business promotion, and ad space could be prohibited within the mural area. Okay, so you want it, will be prohibited within the mural area?
It will be, yes.
Okay.
Everything that says could or should is
Yeah.
going to be a shall or must.
Okay.
Just the purpose of this, I don't want to put anything in writing that is a shall when you
Sure.
guys don't agree with that, so.
Okay, and then any advertising content could instead be reviewed under, we're going to go with that as well? Should be? Will be? Shall be?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll do shall be. And then on the last one, this approach keeps murals focused on art rather
This
than
is a
advertising.
summary of the approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're good with the first one then.
And a lot
first
of these are
section.
just statements, I think,
Sure.
not exact language you're gonna see in the code. It's just a matter
Okay.
of saying, hey, guys, does this sound like what we want to address? And then we'll make sure we have the right,
Okay,
lingo that goes in there to address that issue.
all right, so let's go to the next one.
I'm
We'll
really good
just-
at writing code and policy,
Okay.
so you guys are in good
Yeah.
hands.
All right, we'll,
Okay, so
let's
I'll
look-
go over this maintenance. Go ahead. just read it yourselves, I
No,
guess.
no. Well, yeah, you know, in the interest of time, I mean, I think we could just read it, and then if we have any questions or changes on the section, then we could do that.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good how it is too for a start. You know, it is.
Yeah, as far as like that goes, like the maintenance part about it, do we have like a standard system of materials that are gonna be used on these mirrors that they don't fade, something happens, they're like short-lived, and now we got certain notices right away? I mean, I think we should have a standard of materials. Is that
Well,
UC or-
just artistically, I mean, we don't tell Picasso he's gotta work in oils, or, so, I mean, if we have a graffiti artist that wants to work in spray paint, and they can make it look good,
I think it's more about use what you want, but you gotta maintain it.
Yeah, it becomes a maintenance
Yeah.
thing where we just need to ensure that it continues to stay in good working condition, I think is a big thing.
spray paint. What I would like the council's direction on is abatement. So in the event we have, how quickly does this council want the city to act in the event we have a non-responsive owner or a mural that's defaced?
I think there should be a grace period, because especially in case of graffiti or damage, just dump it on their lap, and we should be helping them to fix it, especially if it's gonna cost them. At the point we get a business or the owner of the mural that is not taking care of their property, or even protesting and putting something up that's against on purpose. I mean, this is already, it does get into those areas where it could be used as protest or, something that's against what we're doing. I think then we should have the opportunity to move fast, or give a business time to address damage or graffiti or something that it's not their fault, somebody did, but it does need to be addressed.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need a time frame. Not, in these areas, are they gonna be zoned out for murals? Do we have zoning for that?
Commercial, anything in the commercial, well, I mean,
Do we have
Yeah, we don't want
specific zoning in it?
residential murals.
No, there's no zoning.
Because once it's on there,
Yeah.
whole different story.
Commercial zoning.
So my thing is that if somebody puts one of these things up, that obviously they are responsible for it, so they're gonna need to understand that when they put one up, that there is gonna be, the onus is gonna fall on them. If it does get graffitied, like if they did one at Tropicana and it did get graffitied, and I think they would move quick, I think they would, but we don't know that everyone would move quick. So, cause just think if you had something incoming right into town, and all of a sudden somebody made it look really bad, because they're unhappy with what was up there, we wouldn't want to wait, too long. So what kind of time frame are you looking at?
well, I mean, typical code enforcement process would be a 30-day notice of violation, and then they would have typically 30 days to respond, so that's 60 days. I don't know if the council's comfortable
Well,
with that.
our code currently says 72 hours for graffiti. So if we have graffiti, we have 72, that we can send a letter and they have 72 hours. Typically, they may not even get the letter in 72 hours, but we usually notify them.
We have a graffiti removal truck, pressure washer mobile truck.
Different animal, in my opinion, but of course, this is where we want your guidance.
Yeah,
Do we have that already?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, we still have it.
Yeah.
Does it work?
We still have it.
I was gonna say, the last time that I knew
I've been
it,
in this seat for
Joey-
2 years, so I'm not sure. I
Joey
have to ask
was
Justin
running
to know if it works or not.
And it wasn't functioning well.
We don't have a ton of graffiti, so we have.
Yeah, we've not had to use it very often, which is good.
All right, well, that's reasonable to me. If we could start there, right, 30 days notice.
Yeah. I think,
Help the business, if we have something to help remove it, because they're gonna hire somebody. They're not gonna be the ones that put in the art, so they're gonna hire someone and.
oh, Robert,
Yes, sir.
Can I please remind the council to turn the mics on, please?
Thank you.
Yeah, if we have equipment that typically is to remove vandalism, it should also, we can be a partner with this and help them, because they're gonna hire somebody, and then they're not artists, they don't know how to fix it, and they're getting out there with a paintbrush and trying to fix their own artwork, it might just look just as bad as the vandalism.
Well, to the city manager's point, I want to make sure that we're getting, so 72 hours is the current graffiti requirement, but typical code enforcement would be 30 days. So what does the council want to see?
Well, and I'd just like to make the point that our current equipment that we have has always been up and down, and when it's down for a while. It's not like something we can immediately fix, and even when we did have it, it was told that it was up to the individual businesses to do their own. So we did not, as far as I understand, we didn't use it for private businesses. We did it for like shared spaces, like walls and things of that nature. But I would highly wonder if it really worked right now, because the last time I seen it working,
Yeah.
but, you know, so.
I think we're diving too deep on this. I think the first line says the primary responsible for the mural maintenance is the owner, so.
Are we
you know,
good,
let's
or-
assume that for now. And
Robert probably knows about the vehicle.
We do have a steam clean pressure washer that's on a trailer, a brand new one.
Oh, okay.
So there is that equipment available.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Will it paint too? No.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother
Okay.
policy.
It's heated.
All right, so okay, so you're just looking for direction on the amount of time. Are we looking at, and so our code enforcement says 72 hour, and what you're thinking is 30 days. So we have kind of a
14.
Well,
discrepancy.
currently for
14 for code
graffiti
enforcement.
is 72 hours.
Everything else is 14.
Yeah, we don't want to change that.
Yeah.
But a mural coming apart, you know, fading, peeling, whatever. I
That's-
mean,
that's
At some
completely
point,
different.
you're gonna have to give them a notice and that.
Yeah, I think we
could
could
be
stick
30
with
days.
the similar,
Yeah.
similar as our code enforcement, process. Because it's not gonna peel and go
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
overnight,
72,
so it's gonna
yeah.
be, that's definitely
That
gonna
could
be
be a lot
progressive.
longer process. Is
Yes,
that-
sir.
Is that a good?
Some of the council, they're really interested in getting these murals, community murals put around. If you, I know some of these businesses want their mural, their process, and getting it through the process. That should absolutely be their responsibility if it gets anywhere there, but just say liquor store across from the chamber. Big old wall, the city wants to put a nice mural with oil fields or something on there, they get permission. That's something that, as part of the vision of what we want the town to be, we want it up there. Can it, but that same liquor store may not want to be the one responsible, hey, some kid ran out there and tagged it.
That sounds like a contract issue.
No, I think if the city
Yeah.
does it, the city would have an agreement with the
Yeah.
property owner to maintain it and take responsibility for that.
Some of these businesses might not say no, you know, if I'm the one that's gonna have to repaint that down the road, I don't want.
Yeah, no, I think the city could take responsibility for those, yeah.
Okay,
Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
all right, and so is everyone okay with number 2 maintenance, with the direction? Okay.
Okay, so this kind of goes into what you guys just talked about, but I didn't want to interrupt.
So we've already talked about
Perfect.
this one, too.
Next,
Okay. Kind of the same thing as well, replacing, removal, repainting, faded, peeling, obsolete.
So that would be an intervention from us, right?
and
Yeah,
I
this
think we're also
is kinda
talking
all
about,
the
it wouldn't be
same stuff,
from,
right?
I think part of this ordeal is that it was gonna be more of an administrative thing than a council thing.
Mhm.
So this is
In
gonna
the
be
end.
driven by the city, right? Not by the city council.
Well, I think that's the direction we're looking for, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's
think
fine.
that's.
But
that
hold
is-
on for
policy
item
is
7.
established.
Yeah,
Or
item
6.
7 talks
Item
about that.
6, sorry.
Yeah.
Item 7 talks about that.
Okay, I'm
we're
just,
gonna get
because
there.
that makes a difference on how we're looking at this. That's why I just wanted to add some context to this. Because the portion in here that says obsolete, right? That is something that could be looked at differently depending on whose expression this is. I mean, the council may have a different opinion, and I think that's kind of one thing that we're trying to get away from is the city council making decisions on who and what and why, and having that more be an administrative process if they follow the guidelines.
And with that basis, Jenna's really good at writing definitions for things too, so it helps give us a staff guidance on how we interpret some of these things as the words obsolete,
Obsolete.
or, you know, even what's considered peeling, how excessive is it? So, I think coming from the planning world, you live and die by definitions when you have words that are,
Subjective.
there you go. So I think that will include that, especially we're really aware of the words and the terms that are kind of subjective, where we can make sure we have definitions for those to make it easier for guidance.
Okay, and Robert, if you see somebody online that raises their hand and wants to participate in the discussion, please let us know. That way that I can, we'll stop and we'll allow that.
Nobody.
Perfect. Okay, number 5, artistic rights.
So do you want to preface this by saying I'm not like a First Amendment lawyer or anything like that? So this is just what I've seen on the internet of how other jurisdictions are addressing this, so.
Is it basically some wording that they waive their right to
Yes,
that?
there's an
in a
acknowledgement and a
sense? Yeah.
signature.
Yeah, that would be good.
You guys okay with this one?
Oh, you had must, that's a must.
Did I put a must? Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say,
Oh, okay.
I probably would.
Okay, yes.
All right.
Okay. So then this one is the review authority, the level of review.
I think that falls in line with what our goal was.
Yeah, I don't want to define what people can make as far as the art goes, but it definitely needs to be, family friendly, right? In Coalinga,
That's why the important.
yeah, the theme, Coalinga theme.
Enforcement and, prevention.
In kind of reviewing all 7 of the policies we went through, I mean, thematically, we can encourage a theme. Artistically, it gets a little tricky with the
Right.
First Amendment,
Yeah.
artistic expression. But to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, obviously, if it's offensive to the community, there is some ability to prohibit that.
Yeah, we don't want to be stuck with something that everybody hates.
So, in this administrative process, obviously, there would be a review period where the city itself would be able to see kind of what that rendering was going to look like ahead of time, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be built into the application process and the procedures that they would develop. I think something that we've talked about a little bit, but I know that the council wants to go away from full, kind of review of these. I think there may be a good idea to have something in there that if there is some ambiguity or some type of situation where staff is kind of on the fence with something,
Yeah.
I don't want staff to be put in a position where they're getting blasted for something that gets put up and, and.
We don't want
not
that either.
Not that we don't want to be blamed or you guys be blamed, but I think it just allows for additional concurrence, say, hey, this is what we're thinking. Are we on the right track, or because you guys are establishing the policy. I want to make sure that we are adopting them based on the intent of the policy. I'm not saying it has to come to you, but we could maybe take it to the commission and have them as kind of a concurring body if it's determined at like a director level that, hey, I don't know about these couple factors,
Would it be just a dispute kind of thing, like the person?
It would be a kind of
was
we
disputing
could
the
probably come up with
decision?
some language that would basically allow flexibility to say, hey, in the event there's maybe some back and forth, and it may not be a dispute, it may just, because that would be on appeal. I think that an appeal should come to the council. If in
Yes,
fact
I agree with
we
that.
deny something and say, no, we don't want it, then it comes to you guys. But I think it gives the staff some flexibility or some comfort knowing that they can take it to someone to just kind of confirm what they're thinking, or maybe there is some interpretation inconsistencies. So thoughts of council on that, I think that might help staff a little bit if
So,
there is some
to bring it
situation.
to council only if there's a dispute or appeal
If
or
you'd wanna s-
confusion, or a confusion
Yeah,
with
and then we
the
would address just
definition.
that one particular point,
Yeah, I'm good
or
with
unless
that.
you're good
I'm
with
good
it
with
going
that,
to
right.
the commission. I mean, you have an appointed commission that could review that too. What are your thoughts?
We don't want it all.
I didn't say bring it to you guys, I said bring it to the commission.
I think it'd be
commission's
wise.
good.
Planning commission.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, I
that.
think it would be wise to take it to the commission.
Yeah, I think so too. Planning commission would be the best place to bring that to.
Chuck.
Yes, I mean, I do, we have a planning commission for a reason.
That's right.
And they are the ones that are tasked with the rules and understanding all of that type of stuff. And I can spin a bunch of words to make it sound great.
It's good.
And I think if there is an instance like that, then we would actually analyze and see what triggered that too. So we would actually maybe come back, maybe it requires policy revision. So it wouldn't be just something like, hey, we don't want to make a decision on this one, let's send it to the planning commission. It's more or else, hey, there's something in the policy that may or may not be jiving, let's go bring it to them. And then we can reassess that policy piece if there's something that might become an issue down the road too.
So I'm hearing administrative approval unless there's some ambiguity, then it goes to commission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You guys okay with that?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
Okay.
like I'm on the hook.
And then the last item is theme. So we talked a little bit about this, but this would be non-binding non-binding guidance, but you'd have more language around the preferred themes that reflect things like the history, identity, values, and public character of the community, but avoid viewpoint-based regulation of private speech would be my recommendation.
So, Mario, obviously, there's certain, like, things that may just be divisive to the public. And those type of things, I think, are the things what we would have, would this fall in the lap of the planning commission? If that's that imbued, I don't even know how to say that word. Ambiguity. Yeah, there you go. Would that fall into that category?
I think it kind of depends on how you guys decide on the actual theme. So if you have a theme, which I think most of the communities that I know, they have some kind of theme just in general, right? So, there's could be like historical figures in the community or certain events in the community. And so it's kind of limited to that. So like if you say, hey, we want to limit the murals to historical events that impacted the city, right? Like you don't have an issue with somebody coming and saying, well, I want to put a Nazi thing on the dentist wall. Like it just doesn't apply, right? And so you can say, no, that's not part of the mural theme that we're going for. If you don't pick a theme and you're just going to say, hey, we just open it up, we'll just come one, come all, put your murals, then yeah, you're going to have some questions and some close calls probably.
Well, the
But
reason I ask is
the-
because identity could be different to whoever is making this.
Right. But again, I mean, she's basically giving you ideas, right? Like if you want to do something like this, those are kind of your options.
And also it would be staff approving this, and I don't think your staff would approve something that is offensive or divisive.
Right, and then that's where the appeal comes in, right?
Okay.
So Jesse looks at it, says, no, I'm not approving this. The artist would have an opportunity, or the owner, whoever is involved in it, they'd say, okay, I want to appeal. Then it goes to planning commission and they make the call.
And what happens if for some reason, what's the legality of the no and then the appeal and the no? Right, what happens at that point? Do we open up ourselves for litigation because we refuse to?
Legal considerations?
Yeah, because then you do have, I mean, it really is a First Amendment issue, right? And so we'd have to be able to justify, and I'm sure, anybody in Jesse's spot would, right? You're gonna have to document, okay, why is this proposed mural fall out of the guidelines that you guys have proposed, right? And that's the thing, right? So if you say, well, we'll allow political speech, and somebody decides to put up a, DSA mural, and you say no, well, you gotta be prepared to defend that, I mean, that's just the way it is, so.
could we focus on the standards then?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, I don't wanna step on her toes, but I mean, it's the standards and it's the theme that's gonna really limit you to what can be done.
Instead of specific.
Right, and so it's, do you wanna limit it to and I think a lot of communities, I think they pick like a theme just for consistency, right? So you don't have, art's subjective, so if you want like a consistent theme throughout the community, you're gonna, if you don't have that, you're gonna see something, super ultra modern on this block and you know, a Western theme on the next block. And you may not like that as a council just because aesthetically it doesn't work for you.
So, if I may, just add a suggestion that we have staff come, give us some ideas, come back, give us some ideas on theme. That way that they can work on it with city attorney as well, and kind of figure out something that would work well. And then they can bring, and so like everything else, like I'm like, yes, 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 and I think that we're all on the same page. When it comes to themes, I think we just need a little bit more guidance so that we can make a good decision.
And I think what we can do is we can kind of narrow the themes. I think this is the first time the city's really attempting to really encourage this policy and really push murals. And I think that it might be good to kind of narrow the themes to start with. So we're kind of protecting ourselves as much as possible, and then we can always broaden a little bit as we go. But I think what I'm hearing is like history. The thing, I mean, when we talk about naming things, we all think about very similar things when it comes to Coalinga's history and things that are associated with Coalinga. And I think that's the sentiment that I'm seeing. I think that when you talk to folks in the public, that's what they're going to be looking for. So I think we can probably narrow it down to try and be very specific about that. And then as this grows or it evolves, the policy can always evolve, and we can expand that theme. But maybe be a little bit more restrictive initially to really kind of protect that, and then we can always expand it if we want to down the road. If that sounds good to you guys, we can work on that and kind of start with a narrow theme, and we can always expand.
Yeah,
I'm good with
this has
that.
to come back anyway, right?
Yeah.
This is just
Are you guys,
this was a presentation.
You guys okay with that direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, those are the 7 items I wanted to discuss. So for next steps, does it make sense for me to write a policy that addresses these, keeping the theme open, provide some guidance on the theme, hear from you again on theme? Like, at least get started on the other
Yeah.
6. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys okay with that? Perfect.
Great. Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
so much.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks, Jenna.
All right. We are going to move on to item number 6.2, consider scheduling of city's inaugural State of the City address.
I'll do a quick little introduction. At the last meeting, it was requested that we bring this item back to kind of to have a discussion to basically about scheduling the city's inaugural State of the City address to be held. We talked about September, and then provide staff with additional direction regarding format, program, and recognition components of the event. I kind of provided just a little highlights of things to kind of consider, depending on the level of the event. It may or may not be a September thing or later, depending on kind of what the council as a whole would like to do. We've done a little bit of research to see what other cities have done, who sponsors these, who puts them on, and kind of what's the overall, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to turn it over to the mayor to kind of talk about what you would like to do, and then get some feedback from the rest of the council, and we can kind of figure out when we want to do this.
Yeah, so I've been paying attention to some of the other cities and counties that have been doing this. Fresno County has been doing it for quite some time, and DOTA jumped into the spotlight this time doing it. I seen Clovis do it, and you know, to begin with, I was thinking, hey, like just like tea and coffee and stuff like that. But the more that I look at how these have been done, it actually there's a way to get a lot of people involved and to really get that message out and to really bind a lot of groups together. And I think it's not just the state of the city where you're just talking and giving what's going on. It's more used as a networking type of event. And so personally, what I would like to see is I'd like to see the city take some time, work with the Chamber of Commerce, work with the Coalinga College, work with maybe the school district. We set a little bit of time to research and how to move forward on this, and that we invite all of those folks to this type of thing. And how that looks, I've seen different things where, hey, certain areas, they charge like $50 to get in to do it, to cover those costs. I've seen it to where that someone has donated, in order to make that happen as well, to where, hey, it's invite, people are invited, and so there's different ways that this can go down. And I really don't want to rush it, because I would like it to, if it's going to be the inaugural first one and then continue on, I'd like it to be pretty awesome. And I think, you know, I don't want to take away from the ability for us to, we can get county supervisors, we could get, you know, our assembly people, our Congress people in, and I would really like to use it as kind of that networking event, and then also showcase some of the things that staff has done and some of the things that we've done as council. And so the initial idea was, hey, let's kind of do this quickly, but then now that I've done a little bit more research on it, I think it's a lot bigger item than something we could just push forward like quickly. And so my suggestion would be that we give staff a little bit of time to come up with some ideas and to work with our partners and and maybe involve some sponsors so that we could have a bigger type of event that I think will be a lot more successful. And I think people would look at it differently too. That's just my idea.
So is the event essentially supposed to be focused around what the city has done for that year period, or?
That would typically be
More
what
or less,
what I
and
would
then-
expect. I know a lot of these are typically like, I think, even Mario and I were talking, I think Vicelli, was it Vicelli or Tulare? Tulare does theirs at lunch. It's like a lunch meeting. So it's an event in its own, but it's like probably an hour, you know, hour and a half. So it's kind of just as a luncheon, I think they do. I'm not sure what other or other cities have done. But I think it's just really trying to get some of your other elected officials. Typically, it's no matter where it's at, it's going to be a noticed meeting because you're going to have more than 3 council members most likely there. I would imagine all of you guys would be there. So it is kind of a noticed public meeting. So depending on where it's at, it doesn't have to be in city chambers. It could be off-site. So if there's a luncheon or something like that, the council would be interested in doing, we can look at options like that. I think that would be palatable for staff. I mean, I can talk with Scott and we can do something where we can work together and try and coordinate. I know that actually some chambers actually help with some of these events in different organizations, from my understanding, or sponsors or other community-based organizations help coordinate these types of efforts as well. So, but I think if we can make it, we can make it a nice event. Whether I think lunchtime might be appropriate, especially if we're trying to bring the business community in, that sometimes that's an opportunity for them to be able to come is during the day.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. I think it'd be better to do a little research on it and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, like you said, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea to bring everybody together to really get to know each other, and let the public, be able to attend and meet some of these people in a different level and interact with them. I think it's super healthy. I've seen some of these events that really take off and flourish, and people make good connections. So I'm for it.
So is the direction to give staff some time to do some research and come back with a good idea for us?
Like you said, it's going to be the first inaugural, it needs to be awesome.
Awesome. Cool.
Thank you, I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
We have an air show in 8 weeks, so it's,
All right. Okay, so moving on to 6.3, discussion, direction, and potential action regarding selecting a voting delegate and up to 2 alternate voting delegates for the annual business meeting at the League of California Cities 2026 Annual Conference in Anaheim, California. Sean?
Great. So annually we go to the annual League of California Cities Conference. This year it's in Anaheim. And they do their annual business meeting. And of course there's 2, there's a vote. We always have a voting delegate, which is typically the mayor. But we always have to appoint an alternate, up to 2 alternate delegates. We do have, I think so far registered as Mayor Vosburgh, Mayor Pro Tem Schindler, and Councilmember Ramirez are registered for the annual conference. So the council would just need to basically make a vote make a nomination and vote. I guess there's nomination and vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
For 2 alternates. So I think with 3 people registered thus far, that I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but that might be the option. But I'll leave it up to you, Mayor, to.
And it is a good idea to have the alternates. Sometimes things do happen, and sometimes you don't plan or prepare, and so sometimes that alternate is needed. And there has been times where they have not had enough people to make a vote. So, yeah, so.
And it's up to 2 alternates, so you don't have to vote too, but it might just be good for,
I think it'd be a good idea to.
Just in
vote, too.
case.
I mean, that way we have, just in case.
So mayor is.
primary, yeah.
So if you guys want, I think we should nominate the voting delegate and then two alternates as well. I think we should do them all. That way it's formalized.
Okay, yeah, I apologize, that's correct, Mayor. Yeah, you need to appoint the voting delegate.
So you would be the main delegate. I'd nominate Mayor Vosberg as the main voting delegate.
Is there a second? I mean, a second for the nomination. Is there a second?
Yeah, I approved
Okay,
it.
sorry. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yeah, to you.
Okay. And then do we have, I would like to nominate Mayor Pro Tem Schindler as one of the alternate voting delegates.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then, who do you guys want to?
Nominate Councilman Ramirez as the runner-up or second
Okay.
delegate.
And I approve that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. He will attend this event. Yeah, we will. Yes, I'd be very surprised if he didn't. Yes. All right. You have direction?
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, who seconded the Ramirez as the alternate? Thank you.
Abel approved it.
All right, moving on to item number 4, review of emergency action for the Polk Street 6-inch water main replacement pursuant to Public Contract Code 22050, and determination by a 4/5 vote that the need for the emergency action continues.
Yes, Mayor. So exactly. So we just need to remind the council what happened. So we had a emergency water line repair on Polk, which continues. The work is nearly complete. We anticipate back T testing this week and completion of that project by the beginning of next week. But the emergency does continue, so the resolution for that emergency does continue. We need a 4/5 vote to continue the emergency resolution.
So and that's almost done, huh?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Can I entertain a motion?
I'll motion to continue the emergency action for Polk 6th Street.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Does that need to be a roll call vote, or can it just, no? Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you, Jesse. Moving on to item number 7, announcements, city manager's announcements.
I have one, but I think Kendall stole my fire, and I know that you guys already follow this stuff, but I did get notification from Townsend that, that AB 1923 that the council's recently supported regarding Measure C, recently was signed by the governor today. So it looks like it's, I'm not with 100% certainty, but about 99%, that the version of Measure C that the city council supported should be on the ballot this November.
Perfect.
So just wanted to give you guys an update on that.
Thank you. Council members' announcements and reports.
I just want to say real quick, I've been going around talking to people, getting signatures lately, and one of the main things I'm hearing from people is our public works guys are great. They go out there, they're smiling faces, they're willing to help, and I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you. They're doing good out there.
We appreciate that. I'll pass that on.
Yeah.
Any other councilman reports? Okay, seeing none. City treasurer's announcements?
None this evening.
Seeing none. Mayor's announcements. I would just like to, amazingly enough, what you said about Public Works, I've actually been hearing great things about our police and our fire. And, you know, in the past, of course, you know, we always have had mixed opinions on what's happening public safety-wise. But I also have been going door to door talking to people, and we talk about public safety, we talk about police and fire, and, you know, the public is impressed. I really do, I got that message from the public. So I just really want to thank police and fire tonight. Of course, all staff is doing a great job, but specifically when I've been going door to door and talking to people, they've been expressing that police and fire has been doing a really good job. And so I just want to thank you guys. Future agenda items? This is usually where Manny comes in with another announcement. He's not here. Any future agenda items? No? I just have one. I'd just like to have a, kind of like a study session about the city's hiring process, about how we hire, just so we can understand kind of how that process works. Go for it.
I cannot remember if we spoke about this in a meeting or not, but can we look into the crosswalk and the cell phone thing? I know you and I have spoken about it. Is that something we can do?
We're.
Okay,
it was
I
already
wasn't
sent.
sure if I'd already brought that.
You brought
up.
them through, I think, an email just requesting it that
Okay,
way. Yeah.
all right, yeah, that's
So-
what I'd like. Thank you.
Any other future agenda items?
You know, I just want to remind, I don't know, Sean, if you caught this a while back, but the speed bumps in Post of Chennai. I mean, I went door to door talking to people as well, and I think that came up like a handful of times. And I think we've already talked about it as a future agenda item in the past.
Yeah,
But I just
we
wanna
can connect
bring that-
and.
Bring that back up. but
Okay.
I think we already had it before, I just hasn't been brought up yet, so just heads up.
Any other future agenda items? All right.
I have two for myself, that's just kind of funny, but I
Yeah.
wanted to update you guys.
Okay.
I did talk, Jasenia will be here on the 20th of August to give us a good update on kind of her efforts and give some debrief from National Night Out and then what we've got in the works, but she's got a lot of information to kind of bring and update you guys on the efforts that she's been working on. And then I did update you guys on my kind of a Monday update about the Measure J priority discussion. So when Kendall mentioned that, I've been receiving feedback from staff and related to priorities, and then also if council would like to relay those before or just be prepared at the August 20th meeting, that we'll have a kind of a separate agenda item for the discussion of priorities, so we can establish kind of a tentative list of things that we want to really look at moving forward. So
And when Kendall is going out to talk to people, she's telling them about this priority meeting, correct?
yeah, and we're actually going to be pushing it probably a little bit more. We're going to have a press release going out, actually just encouraging people to come on the 20th too. So we're going to encourage the public as well to come out and provide at least some feedback, what they'd like to see, so we can take that, digest it, and at least build it in and see what we want to do moving forward.
Perfect. So we're going to move on to closed session. Looks like we have two items, city manager's performance evaluation, and then conference with labor negotiators. Looks like employee organizations, general employees, non-safety employees, firefighters association, non-represented group, and Coalinga Police Officers Association. That means we probably won't be out of here till midnight. Yeah, that's why I drank this. I want to thank everyone for coming, everyone that came and everyone participates, and everyone who's watching online. Thank you so much, and this part of the meeting is adjourned.